For a while now, people have been wondering whether Infiniti is going to be sticking around, whether they're going to go bankrupt or never make any cars again. Well, no more questions. Here we have the 2025 Infiniti QX80. And I have to admit, this thing is really good. Let's start first with the exterior design. Front end, of course, it had to have a massive grille because every three-row luxury SUV out there has a huge grille. We've got the Lexus, of course the BMW is known, they love the massive grilles. But having said that, it actually fits in this car, and in some ways it kind of reminds me a bit of a Range Rover with this two-tone finish. It's got that boxy design, yet a bit curvy at the front. The daylight running light really make this thing stand out. And in fact, when we were filming the rollers, we found a white Cadillac Escalade. And I was able to see them side by side and figure out which one looks the best. And to me, this stood out. And another thing I noticed is this massive Infiniti logo, which now has been redesigned, and we've got a light around it. Again, following that luxury theme of adding lights on the outside, massive grille. But it works. I have to admit, this thing looks really sick. It also looks huge on the outside. In fact, as we're filming those rolls, we found a Raptor, which felt it was almost the same size as this. And if I had to pick a color, I'd actually get this. Moving on to the side profile. In fact, my favorite profile of this car because the way it looks, and this two-tone is brilliant. Absolutely love that. We've got the autograph badge on the side so people know which trim this is. You have this sort of frameless design for the third window, which I kind of like. And of course, Infiniti had to sort of take from other brands as well, these pop-out door handles, which again are very much from a Range Rover. I remember Range Rover having these first. Not a bad thing to get inspired, but clearly someone went and looked at the Range Rover very closely. We've got the side step in this case, which is fixed. Really like that. And this entire design, very different to the outgoing model. We've got nice wheels to make it stand out. I wish they were larger because it kind of looks like this thing went to the gym and then skipped leg day. But they do work, and of course there's the aftermarkets in case if you want something else. I was wondering if the side vents were fake or real, but then I put my hand in it. They're definitely real. They're definitely functional, which is a good thing. Let's move on to my least favorite profile of this car, which is the rear end. I keep looking at this, but I still don't understand what they're trying to achieve with this design. The tail light bar, it's nice. I understand that part. They're trying to make it look more luxurious and stand out and more commanding, which I get it, but there's no actual thinking behind it. Or maybe I'm just reading it wrong. The one thing I could say is probably matching the daylight running light in the front. That kind of design, but then it's like skinny in the middle and then larger on the sides. Not really getting that, and I also just don't like this entire thing. Having said that, you don't have to look at that because you're going to be inside most of the time. But let's talk about space. First of all, tailgate is powered. You can do the hands-free kick-in option, not a problem. But then one thing that really surprised me is the amount of space you get behind the third row. In fact, I have all my equipment here, the bigger case, 2 more cases. You can also put more at the top, and they fit perfectly. In a normal standard Cadillac Escalades, that wouldn't fit because I have tried before. Even Yukon Denali or Mercedes GLS, none of those will ever be able to get that much stuff and behind the third row. This, on the other hand, is doing a pretty good job. Okay. I'm going to do what I usually don't like doing, getting into the third row, but because this thing is so large, I have a feeling I'm going to fit in perfectly. First thing, if you want to get into the third row, we've got a button here. You kind of have to hold it for a bit. And there you go. You don't have to press it right away. I tried pressing it once and it wouldn't move right away, so I had to like hold it for less than 2 seconds. And now you have this massive space to get into the third row, which quite impressed. That's a good start. Okay. Wow. It actually feels like a kitchen in here. It feels like a house. Okay. Officially the best third row I've been into. Yeah, there's a lot of space in this thing. Now, let me do that if I press this. Okay, here we go. It's coming all the way back. Am I gonna get stuck here? No. I'm impressed with the third row of this vehicle. I have a lot of space, very comfortable. I have headroom, which is good. That's a large window right there, which is gonna come real handy for long trips. Could I be a third row passenger in this thing on a long trip? Generally, yes, but no one above 6 feet should sit in front of me because it will take a lot of space from me. But other than that, it's actually quite comfortable. On top of it, I've got heated seats in the back, 2 cup holders in here. We've got a USB-C port, and I can fold the seat with the buttons located right here. So if I want to do that, look at this. I can move it, I can adjust it, or fold it completely automatically. That's great. And then if I want to come out of this place, in some cars I've noticed that the buttons are hidden and you have to ask someone to let you out, and this one is perfect. And there's so much space to get out of here. They have done a great job. Look at that. Wow. That was the easiest. That is not the smartest. It should be just one touch. But it could also be a safety feature for kids playing. Maybe, I could be wrong. Now let's jump into the second row. Handle right here. And that was it. Now, let's talk about this beauty, because over here it's completely different to the outgoing model. In fact, it's a lot different and it's changed a bit. But we've got a screen now in the center, like every other 3-row SUV, luxury SUV in this case. They love adding screens. First thing I noticed is that this climate unit in the center kind of reminds me of a little bit of the Pathfinder. It looks very similar to that, so they clearly just took it from the Pathfinder into this. We've got a panoramic roof all the way across, which is pretty standard in most 3-row SUVs, luxury SUVs, and standard ones right now. Nothing too crazy or the most innovative thing around here. And another thing I learned is the new audio system, which I had never heard before, generally never heard. I know a lot of audio systems, but I've never heard of this one. Clips, no idea. But it sounds pretty good. I played a bit with it and it sounds pretty good. And you've got speakers right there and right here. Next thing, we've got 2 cup holders in the center, and then we have this screen. So let's go through a bit this screen right now to show you everything you need to know about this. First of all, let's turn it on, and here you go. You have all the settings you need right in there. We've got seat massage in the second row, which is quite nice. You can turn it on. There's different settings, intensity and so on. You go back into the menu. You've got settings for itself. You've got your climate unit, which you can control from here, plus the fact that it's right in front of you. But you can play around with this. And we've got ventilated heated seats in the back, so you can control for both sides. And you also have them through the climate unit in the center. So you've got 2 control units for this. And you can also lock the screen in case if you have kids in the back, you don't want them to play. There's some settings that you can adjust, the brightness and so on. Just a few things, not too complicated, just enough features to go through and things that you might need on the road. Okay, let's jump into the front area. First of all, you can see very different to the outgoing model, very inspiring design. I appreciate what they've done in here, kept up with the luxury models right now, massive screen. Everybody's doing giant screens everywhere now. Having said that, there's another thing you need to know, which is the key fob. The key fob now is different to the other models. It's got a different design, looks nice, nothing too crazy, just the standard features. On top of that, we've got a wireless charging pad, which is located right in here. You slide your phone, and you've got 2 USB-C ports, and then you close it and you're good. There's 2 cup holders in there, and that's about it on this area. Now, talking about coolers, there is one right here, which I've seen it in other models as well. This is nice and handy, but this one is also super large, very much like that. Let's focus on to this area now. Okay, let's start it up. That was nice, very welcoming. And here we go. We've got massive screens for the infotainment. The cluster, it's also like one piece, but separated in two so that people know which one is which. I'm sure they're gonna have that a hard time. Next thing on the steering wheel, very different. This is thick, it's huge, but it's got a really nice design. It's very luxurious. I love the fit and finish on the steering wheel. This is where you're gonna spend most of your time, and this is where you want to be as good as possible and as welcoming and at the same time very functional, which I think they've done that job in this place. You've got these buttons here that you can control each infotainment display, whether it's the cluster or this side. And then for the cruise control and so on, paddle shifters behind. But the steering wheel is where I want to focus a bit more. Like the way it is designed is very friendly. Ergonomically, this thing is well done and easy to use. And I love the flat button, the Infiniti badge as well. Then we've got the digital cluster in the front, which shows you enough information. You can go through a lot of settings. Another thing I noticed is this button located onto the steering wheel. In most, is sort of straight. This one is a bit tilted towards the left so that it kind of matches with your thumb movement. This is very smart, the way they've designed this. Well thought. The little details matter in my opinion. And then we have the infotainment display, which is very much Android based. It's a tablet at this point, and most companies are offering that. This is Google Maps built in, which it comes real handy. You can go back to home, you can change a lot of settings. You have Google Help as well, and you've got your music and the rest of them. You got your home screen. There's a bunch of apps that you can go through. Play Store if you wanted to download, and then we go back into that and all in settings. Another thing that you get with this is the dash camera, which is built in and shows you the front side, but also one on the inside. Say hi, Anthony. There you go. So in case if you have a child in the back, well, guess what? I will do the job for you. You can also do the rear sides, where it goes the front and the rear. Dash cameras should be standard in every vehicle right now. They should be required to be in every single vehicle. These things are amazing. You can also take a photo, in case if you're wondering. In case you know what, hold on. There you go. So now you can see me from there. Moving on to this part, which is the rear view mirror. Turns into an LCD with a camera located at the back. Nice and handy. It's got a menu. You can change a lot of that settings. Position, brightness, language, and so on. And that's about it. Then we have another screen, which is for your driving modes and settings and the climate unit. In this case, you can control the climate unit in the front, heated seats, ventilated seats. It also comes with massage seats in the front. You can control the air on the outside. You can also control the rear seats climate unit, and you can lock it in case if you have kids. But also has this haptic style. So you kind of get a feedback that you're pressing and actually selecting something. And then we have the driving modes. Now this is a four-wheel drive vehicle. You can do personal, standard, eco, sport. You can tow and snow. On top of that, you can do air suspension system, which this vehicle is equipped, and it's lowering itself for parking or access in this case, and you can raise it all the way to the top. And right now it's lowering all the way to the bottom. And you can also do it through the button located in here in automatic, or you can change the settings from there. Modes, and we're gonna press traction off, and here we go. Pedal to the metal, about 2,500 RPM. This building can move. Under the hood, the QX80 uses a 3.5-liter V6 twin turbo, making 450 brake horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque. It uses a 9-speed automatic transmission. It is available at rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive in this case. It can tow up to 8,500 pounds with this engine. The first thing I noticed when I jumped in the new QX80 was the size. It looks big on the outside, and it is big on the inside, by the way. Here's the QX60 with the same sort of color combo, the white and the black inside, really nice. And if I had to pick, this would be my favorite color, which I probably already mentioned that. But that's the first thing I noticed. This thing is actually heavy ride and ginormous. It's kind of like a building on wheels. Actually, I asked around to see what people would say about this, and it's kind of like a luxury yacht with wheels on it, which that kind of makes sense. It's massive and it's so hard to park. In fact, getting inside my building, I had to lower it all the way to the end, and thankfully it has an air suspension system. Which brings me to the next thing, like how this thing drives and the driving part. Here's a few things I've noticed with giant buildings like this one. A Cadillac Escalade has a bit of that body ride, and you notice that body roll a lot more than this. Next one would be the Lincoln Navigator, same thing, you feel that body roll. In this SUV, you don't feel it as much. In fact, it feels a bit stiff, which shockingly, I kind of enjoy that. The power delivery is there. I can put it in sport mode right here, bang, and that V6 twin turbo wakes up. No more 7 speeds, no more V8 naturally aspirated, V6 twin turbo 9-speed, which this vehicle needed so much. It also has a new driver assistant package, which essentially kind of drives itself, and I've tested it out only once. So let's put it on. We're on a major highway. Okay, Pro Pilot Assist is on. We can set the cruise control. Pro Pilot Assist is on at this point. And let's increase the speed. Okay, yeah, I gotta keep my hands on the wheel. So it's not fully autonomous, but it does the job pretty well, actually. And here you go. Okay, very sensitive. It doesn't like that at all. Okay, it does have a lane switch, I'm assuming. Come on, can you do it? No, because there's a truck beside me. So I can't do anything. Gotta wait for this bad boy to go. Okay, here we go. Now it's reading. So this is important. Now when it's blue, I'm able to actually switch lanes. And what I'm going to do is indicate, and it's tracking for traffic, which is pretty smart, of course. Keep your hands on the wheel, of course, I got it. And now, once this car passes me, it should move on to the other lane automatically. There we go. And it's doing it. It's very cautious, but it works. Now, how many people are going to use that? Well, that depends how lazy you are. Personally, this road, not much. I would use it on a long trip maybe, would come in real handy when you're tired, but in the city, let's do the right side. We're gonna get into the right side. Okay, I know, it's very sensitive. It wants me to keep my hands on the wheels at all time. Legally, you're supposed to, this is just for testing purposes. But here we are, blue steering wheel, meaning that it's fully Pro Pilot Assist. This is the 2.1 version. Let's talk about pricing because that's just as important. It's gotten very expensive, I must admit. This one starts in the US at about $85,000. The autograph that we have for today's video is about $110,000, which is not cheap. It's actually pretty expensive, but they're all about the same price right now. And this one does offer a lot of advantages in my opinion. It looks amazing on the outside, great technology on the inside, lots of space. The third row is, in my opinion, better than the Cadillac Escalade, remembering from when I reviewed that. Cargo space behind the third row is very good. You also have those buttons in the back to fold the seats completely. What I would have wished with this vehicle they would have offered was to provide more features for passengers in the second row. What I mean with that, like for example, in the middle part here, there should have been a cooler in there. That would have been pretty smart. There should have been a wireless charging pad in there, but it's not. And I think that would have kind of separated Infiniti from the other, well, let's say, automakers. This camera over here should not have been in here, should have been, or maybe zoomed in even further to capture kids in the back, maybe at the top over there, not where the panoramic roof is. I think that would have been pretty smart because most people put their kids in the back, so that would be really nice and handy. Or maybe sort of like a fisheye view. It's still good, but it could have been better. I think they missed on that opportunity. Driving this thing, very comfortable, very enjoyable on the road, quiet on the inside. The tech, In terms of the driver's side, it's pretty good. Heads-up display, full digital screen, digital cluster, the latest technology that you will find in most vehicles at this price range. And it's very competitive in terms of looks, design, space. It does that. Is Infiniti back with this model? I would say so. I think they've sort of reimagined this brand and redesigned to bring this up to the current standards for people that want to sort of switch from a different brand to this, or maybe someone that wants to upgrade. It's something that you'll definitely have to look into because it actually turns a lot of heads, I have to admit. I've seen a lot of people turn a lot of heads, maybe because I've never seen one before, but also because this thing looks pretty good on the outside besides the rear end. But I like it. I like it quite a lot, actually.